Hello and welcome to the Ben Talbot Football Show. Today we are looking at England versus Argentina, the World Cup semi-final. It's a titanic clash, a historic rivalry, on-field and off-field, a history of conflict and controversy. Now look, a lot has been said, a lot will be said, a lot could be said about this match and the two countries and their history and their rivalry, what it all means. Today, we're just going to focus on some of the tactics that England and Tuchel will have to employ to beat Argentina. We'll look at four things that Tuchel will need to be aware of. I'm not going to get into the wider scope. What I will say is that for the neutrals watching, this looks to be one of the games of the tournament. It's got all of the ingredients to be a fantastic watch, filled with drama, probably controversy, and goals and entertainment. So just to set it up, we have obviously it's a semi-final, two great teams, probably two of the best four teams in the world. Both of them, in their own way, have been quite dysfunctional through the tournament. Both England and Argentina have been conceding goals, really left, right, and centre to teams. They've given up leads or have to come from behind to regain leads. There's been late goals in many of the games, extra time. So these are both teams that have not walked calmly through the tournament. These are both teams and squads that have had their own level of drama or dysfunction and letting teams back into the game. Both teams, all three rounds of the knockouts to this point, have been filled with drama and tension and difficulty. They've been made to suffer in their own ways. So to have both of them meeting together alongside the clashing of styles tactically from both managers and both teams, the way they're set up, alongside the star players who are meeting, as well as we've alluded to, all of the on-field history and emotion and rivalry. This will be a titanic clash. So we're going to look at, from England's perspective, how Tuchel will need to use width and pace to attack, how set pieces are key for both countries, especially using corners, the defensive discipline and positional discipline from England, and lastly we'll touch on how England's players and Argentina's players, in order to proceed, will need to maintain mental composure and not wilting under the pressure. There's going to be a lot of noise, a very charged atmosphere, a lot of tension. The game itself, I'm expecting to be a physical, intense battle, high energy at times, and the players will be trying to get into each other's heads. There's definitely an opportunity for this to get physical and brawly and charged. So for either team to proceed, especially for England to progress, the players and the leaders on the pitch and Tuchel and his staff are going to have to maintain composure. Okay, now we're going to look at the lineups and some of the tactical strengths of each team. So if we take Argentina away, England will most likely line up in a 4-2-3-1. They've been using it all tournament. Reece James is back fully fit. I don't know if he'll last the full 90 minutes or even longer, but he'll likely to start. Same with Declan Rice. He came off at half-time against Norway in the quarter-final. He was coming back from a stomach bug, so he wasn't at full fitness due to his illness. He's been deemed fully fit. Again, we'll see if he lasts the full match. England fans will certainly hope he can. And Saka and Gordon on the left and right, that might change, but you can expect probably the game to start that way. Argentina lined up in a 4-4-2 with a diamond 4 in the midfield against Switzerland in the quarterfinals. They've used a similar diamond throughout the tournament at different stages. Again, during the game, you can expect this to shift and change depending on what the game state is. However, what has been consistent with Argentina through qualifying and through the World Cup is a narrow 4-4-2. So that diamond, that compact shape in the midfield. The midfielders might change around. They have been playing with Almada on the left wing. Paredes has not always been at the base of the midfield. And of course, Lautaro Martinez might be rotated for Julian Alvarez, either starting or coming off the bench throughout the game. But in terms of a clash of styles between the two countries, you can expect England to prioritise width and pace. In fact, if you combine both squads, the 10 fastest players, 7 of those are English. So particularly on the wings, with Rashford and Saka and Gordon, etc. So this is a strength for England to exploit the width and exploit the pace on the counter-attack. Conversely, Argentina, they have strength in the midfield, in their compactness. So in this area here, they will look to control the tempo, control the flow and pacing of the game with the bodies and the numerical advantage in the midfield. So again, a clash of styles. Just on that point, if we bring England into it, so let's say England have the ball, let's say Anderson's got the ball here. So in possession, you'd have the wing-backs further up normally. Let's just set this up here, shall we? So Saka's out on the right, Gordon's out on the left. You can see this midfield. There is a numerical advantage. It's 4-on-3, so you're 4 Argentine players against 3. And especially if Lautaro Martinez drops in, now you're 5-on-3. So there's a numerical advantage where Argentina can suffocate and press England's midfield actions. Now, England will have to counter that, obviously. So either O'Reilly coming in the midfield to help support, or Reece James to make it 4-on-4, or again, Kane, as he likes to do, to come in. So Kane coming in to make it, again, 4-on-4. Tuchel will have to employ one of those changes. What that does is takes away potentially from releasing our wingers. So with every tactical battle, Tuchel and his staff will have to make their mind up. How much do we forsake our strength in using width? If let's say we have Gordon tuck in or Saka tuck in to make up those numbers, or even O'Reilly or Reece James to aid and support Rice and Anderson in that midfield battle, but at what cost? How much do we nullify our strengths to weaken the strengths of the opponent? So Argentina in this case. So that'll be the midfield battle to watch. Will be the numerical advantage of Argentina. Are they getting numbers? Are they overloading the English midfielders? And if they do, which I expect they certainly will try, how will England counter that? Will they bring in numbers to support in the midfield? And as I say, at what cost? Now, the other thing is set pieces are key. So England and Argentina have both won the most penalties this World Cup. Argentina number 1 and England second, with the most penalties that they've been awarded, and set piece goals, particularly goals from corners. England and Argentina both are tied for the most goals from corners this World Cup. So you can expect, again, another titanic clash there where you have the accuracy and the delivery from Lionel Messi and the other supporting act for Argentina, in contrast to the height and physical advantages of the English defenders. More so if Dan Burn is on the field, less so if Guehi is on, because Guehi is not strong aerially. But that is something to watch. Okay, so we mentioned the midfield battle. This is from Opta Stats, so you can see red is England, blue is Argentina. This is how the two midfields compare. And this is rating their percentile. So you can see England in the red here. Their defensive line breaks, they're nearly 100% on the percentile. So they're better than almost everyone else this World Cup at ball progressions, at passes into the final third. You can see they're better than Argentina. So this is some of the differences where Argentina have much more total passes, the completing line breaks, and the final third receptions sort of from the midfielders. So this is implying that their midfielders are much more prevalent in the final third, receiving and passing the ball much more than the England midfield. Whereas the English midfield, you can see with their ball progression, a lot of that will be Anderson, the passes into the final third, and their defensive line breaks. This is a midfield that, from an England perspective, this is a midfield that is having the ball in their middle third, and they're passing and progressing the ball directly into the final third. And that makes sense if you consider the game strategy of either Kane coming into the midfield and popping balls into runners, or the other midfielders in that middle third playing balls into our wide players, playing them in either over the top or down through the channels into Gordon and Saka. So that all makes sense. And then the differences, again, as we spoke about with Argentina, is more passes in and around the final third. In fact, For passes completed, accurate passes completed this World Cup, Argentina are ranked number 1 in passes per game in the entire World Cup. England are 13th. So Argentina, in terms of controlling the tempo and having accurate passes per game into the final third, they are really second to none. Now, one thing to say about Argentina's attack is that they've scored more goals than any other team this tournament, including France. And that's with France playing an extra game more because they played their semi-final already. Argentina have scored 17 goals this World Cup in their 6 games. And they have 8 different goal scorers. This is not just Lionel Messi scoring. England, on the other hand, have only 3 goal scorers. Obviously, Kane and Bellingham, and then Marcus Rashford scored a goal against Croatia in the opening game. Since then, it's been only Kane and Bellingham. So the emphasis is much more on those 2 players as the game changes, as the Mavericks. Argentina, as I say, have 8 different goal scorers. Defensively now for both teams, as we mentioned, they've been dysfunctional in many ways. You can see here, this is not, for a successful team, you would expect this to be much more fully rounded. Defensive pressures, both teams are far down. Goals conceded, worryingly high again for both teams. England doing much better than Argentina in tackles, interceptions, and possessions won. However, both have conceded, now this is expected, goals allowed, both England and Argentina giving up lots of shots, good shots, and chances, and expected goals. So what this graph is saying is that both countries have been quite open and leaky and vulnerable in the back, which wouldn't surprise anyone who's watched them. However, England have been much more defensively solid with their interceptions and tackles and breaking down opponent's attack, which could be crucial in this lineup. So back to the lineup, as we mentioned, England using pace and width will be crucial. Argentina controlling the tempo. Set pieces we touched on will be critical in this game for both countries. As I alluded to, there's going to be a lot of off the field emotion and pressure and tension to this game, and both managers have done a good job, especially the Argentine manager Scaloni has done a very good job so far at trying to diffuse and cool some of that pressure, because they need their players to be focused on the game, focused on the plan, and not allowing the noise and the pressure and all of the energy and the intensity to get to them and distract them and break them down. So particularly from England's perspective, it will be crucial for them to withstand that pressure, to keep calm heads, to not allow themselves to get caught up in any sort of controversy or lashing out. We don't want any red cards and any yellow cards. Easy on the fouls. Now, one more thing I'll just say on this is fouls conceded and won through the tournament. So England has conceded fewer fouls than Argentina. They've won more fouls than Argentina, but more importantly, the balance. So you can see England ranked number 1 for the balance. Net 25 means they've been fouled 25 more times than they've fouled someone else through this World Cup, whereas Argentina are -5. So Argentina, on the whole, are fouling other teams more than they're being fouled. Now, there's nuance to this, of course. You're playing different opponents with different styles. There's different game states. Whether you're ahead or behind in the game is going to change your strategy in this respect. So there are nuance to this. But what's important to recognise from England's perspective is that to this point, they have been winning fouls more than have been lashing out and fouling other players, and they'll need to continue that same pattern in this game, especially to allow themselves to be fouled more often than they're lashing out and fouling Argentina's players. The other piece of nuance for Argentina, well, for both teams, is fouls won is the location. So Messi has won 9 fouls in the opponent's final third. That's more than any other player at the World Cup. So of those 68 fouls that they won, Messi's winning them in dangerous positions where he can get free kicks for set pieces, for direct 3 kicks. So that is a strength of Argentina, and especially a strength of Messi. He's been hacked to pieces his entire career by teams and countries all over the world. He knows more than anyone how to win a foul, especially in a dangerous position for his team. So that'll be one thing to watch out for. And again, I talk about discipline. Our defenders and our midfielders are going to have to be disciplined to not react to provocation, and respond in a way that helps Argentina. Okay, so that was a very brief look at just some of the strengths to look into. As I say, a lot has been said about this matchup. I'm very excited. I think for a neutral, I'm not a neutral, but for other neutrals, they would be very excited for the entertainment and the drama and the potential controversy. Personally, I hope that this game is remembered for the on-field performances and results, for good goals, for saves, for penalties. I don't really want to be speaking about refereeing controversies after the match. I especially don't want to be talking about fan trouble or fighting in the stadium, fighting outside the stadium. Personally, I'm worried about that, but I really hope that this is a celebration of football, a festival of football, and both supporters can express their emotions and sing and express their passion, but do it in a way that is proper and right and healthy and not spilling into violence or aggressiveness, and there isn't off-field trouble, if you like. Now, in terms of prediction, this is as 50-50 as they can get. In my view, I think on paper, England have, in some ways, a stronger team, slightly. But of course, you're against a very strong unit. Argentina, we haven't even mentioned. They've not lost knockout games since 2019. They've won 3 straight tournaments. They've got Lionel Messi. They are born winners. It's going to be a fight. And I've seen some articles describing this as a knife fight or a street fight. And in that scenario, I would say the Argentine players are probably better prepared and better experienced than some of the English players. So it feels almost impossible to call. This will be a game of leaders: Messi, Kane, Bellingham, Alvarez. There might be a surprise, someone else stepping up, taking charge of the game and not refusing to let their team go out of the tournament. So expect extra time, expect maybe penalties, expect controversies, red cards, penalties, goals. Okay, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps build the channel, and see you on the next one.